Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of epic fantasy romance, also writing as Jennifer K. Lambert. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. Today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday. Woo-hoo. April 25th, 4/25/25. And yeah, excuse me. It's been a busy week for me. It's amazing how much time it has taken to do my office renovation. I feel like renovation is too strong of a word, but you would be amazed at the transformation of the closet of doom into the closet of paradisical organization. It really is great. I waffled at one point because, when was it? Tuesday. My darling friend Megan gave me a ride back. I did the new car. The new car, the brake lights came on, that ABS brake deal. And so I called CarMax because they have that 90-day guarantee. And they said, yeah, we're booked a couple weeks out, but take it to this other place. And so I called this other place and I dropped the car off. And it turned out that, like, this whole brake part, sorry for my lack of vehicular vocabulary, but something important done broke. And they replaced it. It ended up being a $2,500 job, but CarMax covered the whole thing. So anyway, I dropped it off Tuesday morning. David wasn't feeling well, so he wasn't able to pick me up. And so I called Megan, and she had just been to her meeting, and the timing worked out great. So she picked me up, and then she brought me back. And she and her husband have recently bought what I like to call the yacht. It is actually a very small boat. It is a reimagined, I also want to call it a tugboat, which is also incorrect. Um, it's a replica barge, a junk replica barge, and it's harbored in London across the street from, like, this 400-year-old pub. And they've been having a marvelous time learning to live in very small spaces. And plus, they get to be in downtown London. Do you say downtown London? I don't know. Sounds kind of wrong to me. Anyway, so she had this idea that this closet, and I guess I'll just show it to you. It's not quite done, um, but okay. So look at all the beautiness. But see how it's sort of like one of these pocket closets, because this office is actually a bedroom. Uh, and so her idea, which is admittedly a brilliant idea that I love, was to take the doors off and build in a day bed, take out that shelf and all that kind of thing, build in a day bed, have storage beneath, and have it be like a reading nook, because it would then look out down the valley to the beautiful view. And I do think it's a great idea. I did consider it for probably a couple of hours as I was clearing things out. But as I discussed previously, and several of you sent me positive, supported comments, which I appreciated, I need this to be something that will facilitate my working life. I have places to read. I don't have a place to deal with shipping books. So I don't know if you could see from my brief glimpse of the video, if you're even on video, I will take a photo and use that on the show today. Now I can see exactly what copies of what books I have. And it's just going to be so much better. And it got up, I'd had all these books stacked on the floor around the room. And so I think my cleaning ladies are going to be really happy, because I know it annoys them that I have stacks of books on the floor around the room. So I think it's going to brighten the whole office. I need to finish painting. You will have noticed, if you were watching in the brief glimpse, that I haven't finished painting the office, but I really want to finish that over the next week and get this office completely redone. And it's giving me all sorts of happy. There are other things that were originally on my task list that have slid down, unfortunately, but so it goes, right? I think this is going to be good to get done because then it will set the stage. Because I was actually looking at um, when I need to get Magic Reborn written and aiming for actually having the audiobook come out at the same time as the other formats, which would be a first and probably a last, but appropriate for the last book in the series. And uh, and working out the timing for that, looking at keeping myself to writing 2,000 words a day so that I maybe am not quite so mentally drained. I'm going to try to do that. And I started thinking about that. But yeah, I think that that's the thing that I need to do is not try to push for 3,000 words a day. My aging brain, I don't know. Maybe I've written too many books at this point. Uh, I have so many other things that I need to do. Uh, so anyway, that's my plan, and I am maybe or maybe not sticking to it. But anyway, I was thinking I need to, when I was looking at my calendar, I actually need to start writing when I come back from Toronto. So I really want the office to be totally done by then, but I think it will. There's going to be cool things like, so I have like this little printer cart with the printer in it. And I had the bottom section, which has a little accordion door that comes down to hide the unpleasant stuff. Uh, and I'd had books stacked in there. They are now on the bookshelf. So I'm going to put like papers and those kinds of supplies in with the printer. I'm going down for brunch Sunday to Albuquerque to see my friends Jim and Sage. And I am going to go to the Container Store. Oh, everyone, when I say I'm going to go to the Container Store, rhapsodizes. And I'm going to buy a few things. I want to buy an organizational system for my bookmarks, something with lots of little slots, right? And I am going to buy hooks for hanging things in the closet. And I am going to buy a wrapping paper station because that is one of the banes of my life. I'm sort of looking for the things that cause me friction and trying to find ways to make those frictionless. So this is the Jeffy Condoing. It's plenty of things do not give me joy, but I don't know. That always bothered me. Like if it doesn't give you joy, let it go. Um, I'm just going for if it's giving me friction, how do I make it so that it is at least less friction filled? So we're getting there. I have like cleaned out various cabinets and supply stations, and do. So other things. Oh, actual writing things. I am allowed to share. Oh, I was going to put the picture on today. Maybe I'll do the closet picture Monday when everything's done, when it's all organized. I'm going to do that. Because today I need to put the graphics on my socials, and I get to announce that I'm going to be participating in the Columbus Book Festival in July. Columbus, Ohio. I will be there July 11th through 13th. And so I may have mentioned this before, but apparently I wasn't supposed to until after the 23rd. So you, my small, deeply twisted audience, Big Chill reference there, you got to know first. You get to know all kinds of things first because I know I blurt things out, which is a great incentive, more or less, to listen to this podcast, right? So let's see. I had some other things in mind to talk about. Oh, yeah. So I want to talk about desperation. And I know this is a switch. We're going to this if I were like a professional podcast, I would like play some music to show that we are downshifting into a more serious topic. But you don't get that. So I think desperation is, and I promise I do have a point here. I'm trying to figure out how to walk my way into this topic. Um, Desperation drives a lot of human nature. And one thing about writing and publishing is, as I often discuss, not within our control. There's so much within this business, and it's true of creativity in general, that is not within our control. I've been watching the studio on Apple, which is with Seth Rogen, among other people, and he plays this guy who has become the exec of a movie studio. And episode 6, I feel like you could all just watch episode 6 without context. You don't really need to know anything else that's going on in this show. But Seth Rogen, the movie studio exec, and he makes movies like kind of like Transformers. In fact, I messaged my friend Jim and said, if you watch nothing else of the studio, I want you to watch episode 6 so we could talk about it. He, makes big splashy movies, and he goes to this benefit with his new girlfriend, who is a pediatric oncologist. And the doctors are very stuffy and arrogant to him. And it's so well written, it's so well done. And they get into this argument about what is art, because he's trying to make the point that what he does is as important as what they do, to which they all turn up their noses. And because they're saying we're saving lives, this is life and death. And he says, yes, but what's on every wall of every hospital room? A television set. We need art. We need entertainment to make life worth living. Yes, you save lives, but art is what makes life worth living. And then they start critiquing, saying that the movies he makes aren't art. And you can imagine how that goes. And I really identified with it because I have been in those conversations, right? I found it unlikely that none of the doctors had ever watched any of his movies, because I do think that even the smartest people, and possibly especially the smartest people, need that decompress of the brainless movie. But I have been in those conversations where people make sneering comments about genre fiction and how it's not art. At one point, he asks them, are the Godfather movies art? And they say, of course. And then he's like, well, how do you decide that the Godfather is art and that my Transformers type movie, I can't remember what they called it, like MK4 or something, is not? And they're like, it just obviously isn't. Yeah. So, and I'm trying not to deviate too much, but there's so much that, you create these things and people either like them or they don't. They either want to consume it or they don't. And we have these conversations, like with diverse reading or with short stories, trying to get people to read short fiction. And the thing is especially when people are reading for pleasure, it's very difficult to get people to read what they don't want to, right? And you can talk to people about how it broadens you. You know, if you try stuff, then you will learn to love it. And it's all really valid arguments. But essentially, it comes down to that we cannot make other people consume our art, right? Uh, we can, there are people who try, uh, and certainly this is the model for like the tech companies who lock us into the annual subscription for our software. You know, we need it, and therefore they control whether or not we can access it. They could charge us more for it. With art, people choose. And it all comes down to want, right? You know, if I want this book, I want to read this book, I love this book, it makes me feel good. Uh, you can't control whether or not somebody feels good consuming your art, right? And so that's one of the things about writing, and I'm going to focus in on writing in particular, that can drive creators to desperation, especially in this day and age. I feel like it's gotten worse over time because there are so many people saying you can control it, right? That it is within your control because you know, advertising, and you can write to market. You know, you can use your AI generated prompts, which apparently lots of authors are doing now, to create these books, either for click farms or to try to appeal to readers who aren't paying close attention to the story. I did post something to social media the other day because my audiobook narrator is recording Strange Familiar, even as we speak. It's coming, just not yet. Sorry. I was behind, which means I get off her schedule. That's why I'm going to try to hit it for Magic Reborn. But oh, also, I shipped all of the print copies of Strange Familiar on like April 10th. So you should have gotten them by now. A couple people have asked, and if you haven't, let me know, but you should have. Um, but my audiobook narrator asked me about a character in chapters like 2 and 3, uh, which is Uncle, for those of you who have already read it, Uncle at House Hair Hell. And she wanted to know if he would return, mostly out of curiosity. Sometimes she needs to plan those things because she like gives the good voice to a character that she knows is going to persist, as opposed to like a one-off voice. But she asked mostly for her own curiosity if he would be back in book 3. And I said, you know, I I think he will, because I tried to cut him. I kind of felt like he was an extraneous secondary character, and he refused to be cut, which usually means that the character is going to come back later and have an important role. And and I said, you know, this is, I posted to social media, this is why I feel like, you know, the AI generated stuff, you know, how can you tell a story with that, you know, if you don't have that kind of creativity where characters decide what they want. But that's a different kind of writing, right? You know, there are some people who don't write that way. So anyway, I've seen this pattern many times over the years where somebody writes a book that they feel like should be more successful than it is. And they keep trying and trying, and they like try to write to market, and they try to do what other people are doing, and they try to employ all of the so-called magic formulas, and it doesn't work. And I'm going to specify that there's a difference here between persistence, which I feel like is key. You look at people, you know, like someone like Martha Wells or even George R. R. Martin, who wrote for 30 years before becoming an overnight success. Like they hit the thing that breaks out, it's the right thing at the right time that people want, and then they explode. Um, George did it with A Song of Ice and Fire. Martha did it with Murderbot. Uh, but these were people who were writing other stuff for a very long time. Persistence is key. You know, and I know plenty of people who wrote a few books and disappeared. And I, you know, it's hard. It's not an easy profession by any stretch. And so there are but there's also the banging your head against the brick wall. And like I knew a gal who wrote this book that she felt like should have hit and it never quite did. And she just kept flogging that book. She kept repackaging it and redoing it. And I always wanted to tell her, just write some more books, because that's what, like George and Martha are good examples because they didn't keep flogging the exact same books, right? They kept writing new things and then they happened to hit on the thing that people did want or that lots of people wanted because they were marginally successful or, medium successful before that, mid-list successful. But, when you want that breakout, that phenom thing, then it's something that's not controllable. So there are people that struggle with this. And like I said, I think it's a human emotion that sense of desperation, of wanting to make something happen that we have trouble making happen. And that desperation, I had to pause to sneeze, that desperation can really turn back in on itself and become something that is toxic to the individual and makes them behave in crazy ways. Where they lose perspective. They just don't understand. They don't see that they are eating themselves up from the inside, and that they are angry at other people. And I have been there. I remember I wrote a blog post once about being angry because I had done a massive revision on my book, and the agent still didn't want it. And that's these 20 years ago. And I remember people commenting on there saying, don't succumb to the anger. And it was good advice. Uh, so I'm already gone over time. And I know that I'm being kind of non-specific because I'm thinking of someone in particular and I don't want to call them out. But it's one of those principles of life that if everyone, oops, sorry, hit the wind chimes as I gesticulate. If everybody around you is seeming to be angry at you for no reason or accusing you of things for no reason, and you're feeling like a pariah because everybody is suddenly against you, the whole world is against you, then it's time to look at the common denominator, which is you, right? And I am gesturing to myself because I've been there. I've been there where it's like, why is everybody acting like I'm being crazy? And it's like, oh, actually, it's because I'm being crazy. So, on that note, it's something to think about, right? And if you start to feel that desperation, that anger, that you need to make something happen, and you don't care what you need to do to get it there, give that some thought. All right. On that note, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday. You all take care. Bye bye.